Ryan Redmond, Mario Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Dario Franchitti, and Sebastian Bourdais. These are just some of the legendary names that have gone to victory lane at the Grand Prix of Long Beach. And today, GT America, powered by AWS, is back for the second leg of a street course doubleheader at one of the most prestigious events in North America. Hello everyone, welcome in on a cool overcast day in Southern California. My name is Ryan Marine, Calvin Fish is alongside, and Amanda Busick is in that chilly pit lane for us. We'll go to her in just a moment, but Calvin, lots of action in race one yesterday. What are you expecting here in race two?
Well, hopefully less drama, because we had three cars that didn't even see the green flag yesterday. Those cars have been fixed up and should see the green here today. And then drama right at the end with James Sofronis handily leading this race and then had a drive shaft failure with 2 laps to go. So gave Justin Rothberg his first victory of the season and also the championship lead. So he's on a high. He'll start from the front row. But Blake McDonald, pole position from his fast lap yesterday. He's going to try and make a statement here today with that Corvette.
Stunning lap yesterday, and that has him in prime position, as we will discuss. But now, down to the grid, where we check in with the third member of the team. Hi, Amanda.
Good morning, Ryan. And yeah, you said it's a little overcast and chilly down here, but also pleasant as we get ready for race number 2 here for GT America at the 50th anniversary of Long Beach. I'm at the back of this grid, just ahead of our GT4 cars. You'll see Paul Sparta there on pole, ready to make up for his little miscue yesterday. Judson Holt on this side of the screen ended up getting the win here yesterday. Enrico Schlemoon is here. He's been battling food poison here this weekend, guys, so I know he just wants a nice 40-minute race ahead and see what he can do. But as we work up now to our GT2 machinery, we did have CJ Moses able to rejoin the grid here. Had some issues with his alternator yesterday, so we'll be back. Also, Adrian Kunzel got his first win in GT America. As you can see here, also at our GT3 machinery, it's great to see Jason Bell on the grid. There was a clutch issue with that, his machinery yesterday. And Patrick McCahey, I'm so excited what this guy is going to be able to do today. JCD, his driver coach, told me that he is simply a natural, so look forward to some hard charging for him. Obviously, always great to see George Kurtz with us in that Hummingbird livery, and Rosh West in his 4th race in his Corvette. As we keep moving up this grid, I talked to Elias Sabo this morning. He said he didn't sleep at all last night, thinking about his mistake that he made on track, ready to make up for that as well. Jeff Burton joining us in the race here today as well. Said he loves Long Beach and looks forward to improvement as well. How about Gray Newell picking up a podium yesterday in just his 3rd race in the GT3 format here in GT America? He was on the pole for that race yesterday, but just really need to see these drivers continue to grow through this format. Mirko Schultes in that beautiful Callaway Corvette. This row, I'm going to have my eye on this row, guys. You got Kyle Washington, James Sofronis, and Kyle Washington. These guys are teammates, know all about their driving styles. I'm sure James Sofronis with that drive shaft issue yesterday. I've heard from the GMG camp that everything is ready and fixed to go today. And then right here on the front row, like you said, Calvin, Blake McDonald, hometown guy, Justin Rothberg, the guy that won here yesterday, ended up celebrating with his team last night for dinner. It is going to be a lot of heavy action here. 7 different manufacturers represented in this grid. We're ready for race day.
We certainly are, Amanda. Thank you very much. We'll be heading back down in just a couple of minutes to get the engines fired. Look, we've got a mixed-up grid. Some guys that had fast cars in practice or qualifying that through misfortune now start towards the back. And then you've got the upstart on pole in Blake McDonald. I don't know what to expect here in the next 40 minutes.
Well, I think we've got our eyes scanned throughout this field. Mulcahy has been really quick in practice. He had an unfortunate qualifying session that was red flag, so he didn't get a great starting position for yesterday, and then didn't even make the green flag with those issues with the throttle sensors there. So he's going to be looking to make an impression here. And you always find on a doubleheader weekend, drivers tend to be a little bit more aggressive in race 2, recognizing there's no race tomorrow to think about. So let's see what happens. Elbows will certainly be out down into turn 1. How they survive, I think Amanda is spot on how James Sofronis and Kyle Washington think about his start yesterday. bold move down at the inside, but kept it together on the dirty side of the racetrack. I'm sure he's looking to make some moves here early as well.
Until Paul Sparta had the off in turn 1, he and Judson Holt had a really good battle going for the lead in GT4. Small in numbers, but strong in competition.
They really are, and I spoke to Paul this morning. He said, I was faster through the first sector, but I wasn't getting off the hairpin incredibly well, so that's how Holt put the pressure on him. And he just missed his braking mark, and he thought they were going to have contact. If he tried to force it through turn 1, elected to give it up, that was probably a wise move. Live to fight another battle here today.
It is a great day to go sports car racing. The crowd already filling up the grandstands, and so much excitement, of course, to be here at Long Beach. The 50th anniversary. First race was held back in 1975. It was a Formula 5000 race, and now the sports cars take center stage. To get things started, we head back to the grid and Amanda.
Well, Ryan, you can only imagine the excitement underneath the helmets of these drivers as we get ready for the 4th race on the season. And as we kick things off, Blake McDonald on pole. Drivers, start your engines.
Gotta love that sound. Blake McDonald fires up his DXDT Racing Chevy Corvette Z06 GT3R. And the 5.5-liter V8 naturally aspirated engine provides the perfect soundtrack as we get ready to go for the second race of the weekend. Grid starting to roll off, Calvin. You talk about this being a prestigious event, but also a challenging one. The city streets of Long Beach converted into a racetrack, and this is one of the most revered street courses on the planet.
It really is so iconic, just under 2 miles in length, 11 very challenging corners. There's a little bit of undulation, even though we're on a street circuit here. There's some real subtleties to this racetrack as you see the grid on the screen.
Like McDonald on pole. Yesterday's winner, Justin Rothberg alongside. Then James Safronis, who came within 2 minutes of victory yesterday. He'll start third today. Next to his teammate Kyle Washington. Mirko Schultes and yesterday's pole sitter Gray Newell starting 5th and 6th. Jeff Burton, Elias Sabo 7th and 8th. Then Ross Schwest and George Kurtz starting 9th and 10th. GT2 pole sitter Adrian Kunzel alongside the GMG car Patrick Mulcahy. Then another GT2 machine, CJ Moses and Jason Bell, who had a clutch issue yesterday. In GT4, Paul Sparta on pole. Judson Holt, who won a day ago, starts 2nd. And Rico Schlemoon, dealing with that food poisoning that Amanda mentioned, starts out back. We hope he's feeling a bit better today. That can't be pleasant, trying to manage an upset stomach in addition to the challenges of driving a GT4 car around Long Beach.
No, that's for certain, and I think it was coming into the weekend, so hopefully he's a bit better day by day. Typically those things kind of heal themselves, just need some rest and some sleep, so he'll try and get up on the wheel here. Nice run here yesterday, finished on the podium, of course. But there you see some of that elevation change coming down the hill. This is from turn 6 down in a very tricky turn 8, and it's a really critical corner to get off this one on that back stretch, Seaside Way we call it there. Then another big break zone down into turn 9. But this racetrack keeps coming at you, but it's really a lot of rhythm to it. You look at the track and you think there's a lot of right, just 90-degree corners, but there's a lot more subtlety to that, and it really is challenging for the drivers. Everyone enjoys this circuit. You can be intimidated by the walls, but if you embrace it, this is a fun track to drive.
This is the first of 2 formation laps as everyone gets prepped and ready to go for the 40-minute sprint that lies ahead. And the person with the best view when it comes time to get started will be Lindsay McGuire, who's standing by in the starter stand, Director of Strategic Partnerships at Worldwide Express. Big smile on her face, and why not? Everyone envious of the view that she'll have as the cars take the green flag that she will wave the next time by. Well, we talk about the fact that this is a double header, and for most of these drivers, they have a race under their belt, but 3 cars failed to start yesterday. Can you imagine the anticipation having to sit out race number 1, and now you get the chance finally to go racing?
Yeah, they're going to be fired up, and obviously by not taking the start here, yes, they didn't run a lap. Grid positions for today are set by the fast lap yesterday, so they're mired at the back of the pack with a lot of work to do. You can't win the race at the first corner, but a lot of those guys will be thinking, I need to make some moves if I'm going to have a shot at victory or even a podium here today.
11 turns, just under 2 miles around the streets of Long Beach. where are some of the trouble spots, the action areas, if you will, around this street course?
Well, I think there's plenty of overtaking opportunities. Coming down the hill here, we saw Kyle Washington make a late move on Gray Newell into this corner. You need to coexist if you're going to do that. If you clip that inside wall, or if you nudge into each other, those tire bundles come at you in a hurry. Another great opportunity is down the end of this stretch that we see here, Seaside Way into turn 9. Some of the other parts of the track is very tight. It's tough unless someone makes a mistake or gets bogged down, loses momentum off one of the slow speed corners to make a move. But we see it happen all the time. You turn into the corner with a nice wide approach. It opens up the door down at the inside, particularly at the hairpin. It's tough to make it stick, though. The infamous hairpin here at about 30 miles an hour on this Long Beach street circuit.
Blake McDonald, the pole sitter in that brightly colored DXDT Racing Chevy Corvette. He's a Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West champion just a year ago, but this is his first pole racing at this level, and he'll do it in front of one of the biggest crowds we will see all year long. He approaches the VP Acceleration Zone, the Roval Pole Award winner. Blake McDonald puts the pedal down and accelerates away. Rothberg, though, keeping pace. Meanwhile, the GMG teammates run side by side for third and fourth, but Rothberg gets the big run around the outside. He'll try and clear the pole sitter heading into turn number 1, and here comes Kyle Washington. Much as he did yesterday, he'll scythe up and grab the second spot.
Cut and paste from the movie made yesterday is a little bit more dicey today, as McDonald didn't want to give it. Oh, but there's a touch there with the Gray Newell.
Newell into the shrubbery on the inside there at the fountain corner. Came in hot, and he clipped the Mirko Schultes car, I believe, and now is he high-sided in the foliage that surrounds the fountain, one of the iconic portions of this track.
Great photo op, but that's not where he wanted to be. And now Sofronis is on the charge here around our pole sitters. So Blake McDonald from the pole down to P4 on the opening lap here today.
A tough start, but now trying to battle back against the veteran. James Sofronis, 3 times a winner in his career on the streets of Long Beach, picks up that position. He's up to third, trying to put yesterday behind him. What disappointment. A race that he dominated, taking the lead on the first lap. He had led every lap until, with under 2 minutes to go, a drive shaft failure cost him the race.
Yeah, I saw that piece this morning that they had to replace. Just unbelievable. I mean, they are a brutish piece of equipment, the half shafts on those Audis, and just twisted it in half. That's the sort of power that they're delivering out of corners like that hairpin there at turn 11.
Have not seen Gray Newell clear sector 1 yet. Oh, now we do see he's up and running. That's good news. Man, tough one for him. Pole sitter yesterday had a great podium run, but he's now at the very back of the pack.
Yeah, Rothberg was determined there. He used that BMW power to kind of escape Blake McDonald and easily turn into turn 1 with that lead. Now he's just scampered off as everyone has been dicing it out a little bit.
Patrick Mulcahy has picked up a couple of spots. We didn't get a chance to see this car yesterday, but it's this Porsche right here in the midst of the fray. He was putting some pressure on Jeff Burton until just a moment ago. This is an older generation Porsche 911, the 991.2 variation. But nevertheless, it's a fast piece of equipment, well prepared by GMG as he now tries to chase down a GT World Challenge America race winner already this year in Jeff Burton.
Here we see the CrowdStrike Racing entry. Spoke to George Kurtz this morning, and he said basically we had a car that I could not work with yesterday. We've thrown everything but the kitchen sink at it to try and turn that car around, the handling for this morning's race. And he's here to win race. He's not done the full season. He's a past champion, of course, but he's just out for victory, and yesterday was not what he was looking for.
No, surprising to see him struggle the way he did, drop back early and never really could quite take the fight to the front runners. Had to settle for 4th, which in the final analysis isn't so bad, but he's not running a full season. He's here to get podiums. He's here to get wins.
He's chasing after P.D. Cunningham's win record, which stands at 43 right now. He's at 42, so expect to see him a little bit more in action this year than I think the initial schedule.
Gray Newell.
Oh, and he's in deep. Did George miss the corner?
Made it through.
Wow, that was really wild.
There's his Newell. I was about to say he has made it into the pit lane, so evidently something amiss. We saw him make that trip into the flowers, maybe a left front down, it looks like, at the front of that car, and he did make some left front contact, let's remember, that led to him ultimately spitting in the fountain section. Rothberg leads by 2.3 seconds, but the battle was on now between a couple of teammates from GMG. Kyle Washington in the Porsche and his team boss, James Safronis lurking behind in the blue Audi.
I'm sure they've thought about these type of scenarios many times, discussing racing over dinner. You got the team boss and his customer and best pal right in front of him. You'd have to think that James is going to be pretty circumspect of any sort of move he's thinking about here.
James always talks about the fact that the team comes first, but when the visor goes down, he's a racing driver first, and you know he wants to get win number 4 at Long Beach, especially because it escaped him yesterday. Mulcahy stopped in the hairpin, I believe. Oh, or is that a cutout area? Hard
Could be
to tell.
turn 9,
yeah,
possibly.
We'll try and get confirmation of that, but that's a shame. He had made a nice charge up through the field, and again, had the great disappointment of not being able to take the start yesterday.
Yeah, that really is, because he showed so much potential in the practice sessions here, and everyone was pretty buoyant about what he might be able to do here, maybe even win this race.
Jason Bell also is shown as having made a pit stop to try and get to the bottom of that. They've been battling clutch issues after an incident in qualifying.
Yeah, I spoke to Michael Cooper, who's his coach and co-driver in GT World Challenge, and they just said they had an off in qualifying. I think trying to get the car turned around in the right direction may have done some damage to the clutch. Mulcahy is back underway. I think that was down in turn 9 where he kind of overshot the corner a little bit. Takes a while with these cars, particularly when they're hot, to engage reverse gear and get out of those scenarios.
Report from Amanda, front end damage for Jason Bell at Racer's Edge Aston Martin. Clutch issues have not been an issue today. Those have been rectified, but evidently made some contact out on track, and that has cost him track position. He's now on an out lap, but has dropped nearly to the back of the SRO 3 grid.
Tell you what, Washington really gets the power down nice and early. That Porsche just squats and leaps off that corner, and that's going to be frustrating for his team boss, James Safronis, there to watch that.
One of the advantages of that Porsche 911 platform, right? You've got the engine in the back sitting over the drive axle, and it just helps it put the power down when you need to. In the meantime, we mentioned that the fight was a good one between these two yesterday, and it has resumed here on day 2 with Paul Sparta leading Judson Holt, but only barely.
Yeah, and Schleimo's hanging with the 2 BMW as well. These 2 BMWs were very evenly matched yesterday. And that's the corner that Paul Sparta told me this morning. He struggled a little bit to get the power down equal to Holt, and that put him under pressure down in that turn 1 brake zone yesterday.
Such an important corner because it leads to this long full throttle stretch and what is quite possibly the best braking zone, passing zone right here in turn 1. Back to SRO 3. Justin Rothberg has scampered away.
Has the fastest lap of the race right now at 121.4, just laid down the fastest first sector of the day. So as we saw yesterday, as we start to burn a little bit of fuel off these cars and the load there, the tires hang with the drivers and give you faster and faster lap times, which is really fun when you're driving a race car that gives you that.
But behind Rothberg, that Washington-Safronis battle isn't going anywhere. Blake McDonald from pole seems to have stabilized a bit. We know there's good pace in that car. We saw it yesterday. He just couldn't make much progress up through the field, but despite that, did have the fastest lap of the race in race 1, which is what granted him pole for race 2 today.
Seemed like his car came alive late in the going, sort of mid-race on. He just continued to sort of I think he was backing off from the traffic in front because he knew, listen, today's not a great position, so let's really focus on tomorrow and make sure we ensure that fast lap. So he did that repeatedly, and that's how we got that fast lap. Safronis thinking about a move down into turn 6. That's a risky one, particularly on a teammate. I think for Washington yesterday, talking to the team, they said the car went off a little bit. It came alive early, but they kind of had the tire pressures maybe a little bit too high for the end of the race. But he certainly regrouped well to get that final P2 position, but now his teammates on his tail as Jason Bell hits pit lane.
This is the second trip to pit lane for Jason. Great crew based out of Florida, Racer's Edge Motorsports. They'll get to the bottom of it, talking to team owner John Meraki earlier in the weekend. After so many years running the Acura NSX, he did say it has been an adjustment coming to grips, not just with the car, but everything that goes on behind the scenes. You've got to figure out the protocol for getting replacement parts. You got to figure out who the right person is to call for some engineering support. And when you've been in one manufacturer's family, as they have with Honda and Acura over the last half decade or so, you've got to start from a completely blank slate. here with the change in manufacturer this year.
Yeah, there's a real comfort with that, knowing the people and the partners that you're working with, so it just makes your job really easy. So they'll get a hang of it. I mean, working with a new manufacturer, I think they're going to embrace that. They're going to get their handle on the race car as well in terms of setups. They did really well in Sonoma at a fast race car there. They got Michael Cooper to aid Jason Bell in coaching on the GT America weekends, but also helping to set up that race car as well. So I think they're going to be a pretty competitive force here this year.
How about Blake McDonald? He has run these two down and is certainly looking threatening at this stage. Doing a really nice job with drivers with much more GT3 experience, certainly James Sifronis, but even Kyle Washington at this stage. He's a multi-time GT3 race winner. This is good company to be keeping in your rookie campaign.
It really is, and he's got Matt Bell, who his teammate he runs with in GT World Challenge, competing here as well this weekend, so I'm sure he's been able to give him advice with the same platform that he raced here yesterday.
Busy season last year did Blake McDonald. Mentioned that Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Championship, won 7 races in that series last year and was on the podium in almost every single race that he started. Did some endurance racing in Porsche Cup cars as well as a little bit of Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but then made his GT3 debut at the Indy 8 Hour at the tail end of last year with this DXDT team. And that set the table then to put this campaign together, primarily focused on GT World Challenge America, the 2-driver 90-minute race format, but also getting the chance to sample one of the great events in North American racing and come and take part in the Long Beach Grand Prix.
And I believe he's managed by Ollie Gavin, the ex-Corvette Racing factory ace, multiple Le Mans winner. And so he's being steered in the right direction. He's got some great mentorship going on. Got some really problems here for Schultes.
Yeah, a lot of smoke coming out. That does not look like a tire rub. He was. Had been running 5th prior to this issue, or maybe it is something from that right rear wheel well after all.
Could have clipped a wall or something that's broken on. It's kind of crabbing down the straightaway here, so I'd have to think as that right rear corner has taken a hit or had a technical issue. He's just trying to get it back to the pit lane or find a safe haven around this racetrack.
And Mirko is a full season competitor, not one of those just moonlighting here in GT America for the weekend.
You really see him make a mistake. He's super consistent driver, so I'm not sure if that's just felt. You can see the wheel is just bottom A-arm is broken and just got no control over that right rear drive wheel.
Hate to see it for Mirko, who has finished as high as 3rd in this championship going back to 2022. Lots of podiums in the time since then, and had 2 more to start the season at Sonoma. Finished 6th yesterday, but was very much in the fight. And that's when he's at his happiest, is when he can go wheel to wheel with some of his competitors.
Yeah, he's not always the best qualifier, but he always puts the show on race day. So I spoke to him this morning. He said, yeah, I was probably a bit too conservative yesterday. The competitor he's racing with had lost his left side mirror, so I was reluctant to make a move in corners where he may not see me, because we talk about the doubleheader weekend. You want to have a car that survives day 1 and be around for day 2. But look at this. Schlemun's making a big run on Holt. Has Holt got an issue because Sparta has taken off from both of this pair?
That's a really good question. And Mulcahy in an SRO 3 car was about to come through as well. That might have helped open the door. This is the leader in GT2 at the moment. Adrian Kunzel leading CJ Moses by 20-odd seconds after about a quarter of the race time. MLT Motorsports, the team, and Adrian has been driving with this team in various championships quite a bit over the last few seasons.
Yeah, he's got a nice environment there, great team to work with. Had a lot of success, won an AM championship a couple of years ago. So he didn't have any competition yesterday, but he certainly drove very well and really quick around these streets at Long Beach.
This Lamborghini GT2 car, it's basically a slightly modified edition of their Super Trofeo car. Lots of power, little less downforce than a GT3 car like you see in the SRO 3 class. It makes them rocket ships in a straight line, but you really got to hang on to them through the corners. By all accounts, they're a ton of fun to drive. Great to have a couple GT2 machines, both the Audi and the Lamborghini, represented here at Long Beach. Look at McDonald, though. having caught the pair. Now he's really pressuring James Safronis.
Yeah, he's looking pretty racy right now, flashing his headlights coming down the Seaside Way there into turn 9. But I think James has been around the block too many times to get distracted by that type of thing going on. But certainly he's got to think about who's behind him rather than just focusing forward on his teammate Kyle Washington. And I think that Corvette has really come alive. It took a couple of laps for Blake or the car to come in at the start of this race, but he's certainly got into a rhythm now. James a little bit wide of the apex there, missed his marks momentarily, and McDonald is all over him right now.
Certainly is. Bright looking paint scheme on the Corvette looks sharp, and it looks fast right now. Fastest car in the race yesterday was the pole sitter today, but has dropped back. However, they're going to have some traffic to contend with, and maybe that opens up an opportunity.
Yeah, it certainly does. Who gets the best run through the traffic, and sometimes you just catch them in the wrong spot. These GT4 cars are pretty quick through some of these tight corners, and the SRO 3 cars with their GT3 machinery just blast by them down the long stretches here, probably about 15 to 20 miles quicker terminal speed here at Long Beach.
The blue Aston is Gray Newell, much delayed after his spin on the first lap, and he'll have to make way as the leaders come through, but he also will want to make his way through this lap traffic. He is down a lap at the moment. Rico Schlemoon being very courteous in letting this battle between Safronis and McDonald come by. Got out of the way there entering the hairpin.
Yeah, and that just comes with experience. There's a real art in terms of not only lapping cars when you're the quicker car, but also being lapped and not losing too much time, picking and the right moment on a racetrack, not to lose too much time yourself by being courteous.
This is about to get really tight. Battle for the lead in GT4 is getting mixed up with this SRO 3 battle. Judson Holt wasn't quite ready to let McDonald come through on those terms, and that's understandable. He's in a fight for the lead right now. McDonald forced to just be patient, which is so hard to do in a sprint race like this, but you've got to realize that the traffic can take away from you, but it can also give you an opportunity just the same a little bit later on.
Yeah, and it's given Sabo a bit of a run through the traffic. He suddenly caught that Corvette, so he did a really nice job negotiating through that traffic and is closed in on the Corvette right now. That battle for P4 coming down the hill. Late move there on Paul Sparta. Shouldn't delay him too much. He's got to be on the ball here, Paul does, because Holt gets a big run through turn 8 in that yellow BMW right behind him.
These two were locked at the hip through 40 minutes of racing yesterday. Paul Sparta in the green and white BMW. Judson Holt in the yellow machine. George Kurtz now splits the pair. These are first and second in GT4. Meanwhile, sixth at SRO 3. George Kurtz trying to go the long way around. That's a tough place to do it because we've had a lot of Formula Drift action over the last week, including last night through this section of the track. And I'll tell you what, they lay the rubber down.
They certainly do. It is unbelievable what the look of the racetrack when you see it after they've run around there. But Paul Sparta is such a tough thing to do, to maintain your rhythm when you're trying to get out of the way of those fast cars coming through. You suddenly miss your marks. You're not in sync with the racetrack or the transmission, and you're suddenly not in the right gear ratio. Oh, big sideways move, laying some rubber down through turn 4 was Kyle Washington on exit there.
Quick hands. And he's perfectly comfortable with the car doing that. We've seen that over the years. It doesn't faze him at all. That's always been the case from the first time he stepped into one of these cars at this level.
Yeah, he's loving life here at Long Beach. He's embracing the fans. They all came over to the SRO World Challenge paddock this morning, looking with some of that E-Boost energy drink. And Carl's just loving having the fans recognize that brand. Pretty cool stuff.
Gray Newell having a tough day today, but he's going to make sure he doesn't have an impact on this battle at the front of the SRO 3 class field. This DXDT racing team, they were doing double duty this weekend. Really cool story, and we can get to in a moment. I think we've got a problem for the leader, Paul Sparta. Left rear appears to have the Pirelli scrubbed off of it, and it might be down.
It is down. You can see us run a little bit lower when he loaded it up there through that right-hand corner. So not sure if he brushed the wall or had contact with a competitor or whether he just picked up some debris, but this is going to be a devastating blow. It's about a 43-second transition time down pit lane here, so it's a very long pit lane. Plus, he's got to get that wheel changed.
I think he's made contact with something with the left rear because the Pirelli lettering that's usually bright and yellow on the side has been totally wiped off. In any event, for the second straight day from the race lead, Paul Sparta has seen a potential race victory slip through his fingertips.
Yeah, and ironically, he told me this morning, he said, I love racing between the walls. I'm not intimidated by it whatsoever. I feel really in the groove. So he was pretty pumped up about the potential to grab that win here this morning.
Looked like it might be coming his way, but barring a significant turnaround in the final 21 minutes, doesn't look like he'll come away with the hardware he was chasing. In the meantime, Justin Rothberg's lead, it's ebbed and flowed through traffic, but now sitting right around 3 seconds over Kyle Washington right here. Then it's James Safronis and Blake McDonald. Now that they're through the traffic, it comes down to the raw pace once again. And this might be the answer to our question. Judson Holt looking to make his way around Paul Sparta, and immediately Paul's out of the throttle there. Rico Schlemoon comes through too, so it looks like that tire was already down at that point.
Yeah, he was definitely off the pace that allowed those two competitors to easily move around him. So that's a shame for Paul. They had such a brilliant weekend at Sonoma across all of the classes and championships that they compete in. So he'll be disappointed, but he wanted to come here. It was on his bucket list to experience the Long Beach circuit, and I'm sure he enjoyed himself nonetheless this weekend.
Here's the race leader, who has been leading more or less in obscurity, because since grabbing the lead, he has been well out in front. Gap hovering right around 3 seconds. Back to Kyle Washington, but really strong weekend building here for Justin Rothberg.
Really has been, but all of those cars behind him have really good pace, including this man, McDonald. He just laid down the fastest lap of the race on the previous tour around here. So he's got pace in that Corvette. Doesn't have the track position despite starting from the pole, so he's got some work to do.
So look at the tire off of Paul Sparta's car, possibly a puncture.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see scrapes to the sidewall as well.
That can sometimes happen, you know, if you get a puncture and then it's really
Sure.
soft, it can roll over and damage the tire as you're just circulating and get it back to pit lane.
Well, in any event, the effect is clear. Paul Sparta has dropped down to third and last in the GT4 class.
McDonald, another new fast lap as we look at Mulcahy here. And around CJ Moses. CJ, I spoke to him this morning, said he's going to do a couple of races. He's got a very busy business schedule, so he's had a lot of conflicts with the SRO calendar, unfortunately, but he said sometimes his work agenda is 3 years out. He said, I'm already know what I'm doing in 2028, so hard to make those coexist, but when he can, he'll be here. Said he'll race at VIR and maybe Indy.
VIR's his home track. He's from just outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia, part of the Beltway, I guess you would say. VIR has got a lot of laps there, and then, of course, if you get the chance to come race at iconic venues like Long Beach and Indy, why not? Did get an update from Amanda, and maybe that's what she was trying to show us, but I couldn't quite see it from the pictures we were shown, but there was evidently a nail in the tire, and that's the cause of the issue for Paul Sparta, and that's unfortunately one of the negatives of racing on city streets. You just don't know. They do a good job of cleaning things up, of course, but you know, these are streets that are in use the rest of the year, and there are going to be some things left behind occasionally that can rear their ugly head.
Well, a nail wouldn't come from a race car, but there's so much racing action. It's a jam-packed weekend. I mean, they really put on a great show for the fans who show up here. It's been a brilliant crowd over the whole 3 days here. Friday was just immense. And we're also got a lot of action, like those stadium trucks are bouncing around this circuit and trying to keep all the parts and pieces on those. So there's a lot of cleanup to keep this racetrack clean.
Folks that run this, they're so good at it, of course. They've been doing it for 50 years now. Now under new stewardship, Penske Entertainment took possession of the rights to the Grand Prix of Long Beach over the winter. I believe it was last November. Jerry Forsyth, longtime IndyCar entrant and owner of Champ Car for a time, sold to Roger. Oh, Washington got wide there.
He did, and that's going to give these two drivers a bit of a run on him, but that Porsche is pretty strong down the straightaway, so it's focus forward. And it's about the time in the race yesterday that I believe Carl Washington started to struggle with the balance on that race car. So there's Tom Sargent, his co-driver there, screen right. coaching him through this scenario, and he'll be giving feedback to the team on what the balance is. They maybe try and get him to use some of the tools inside the cockpit to adjust and get the balance back where he's comfortable again. But Sofronis has a run, looks to the inside in turn 4. McDonald trying to set up a run on both of the GMG machines right now.
McDonald will need to be patient here as this battle unfolds in front of him. There is some traffic to contend with just up the road, including CJ Moses' GT2 car. We also saw the top 2 in GT4, or maybe that was Paul Sparta's car actually. That's well down the order. Porsche of Washington, as Moses lets them come through, pulling off to the inside in the Audi.
Be a good photo for the office for GMG with those 3 GMG entries all in the same blanket of the racetrack.
But now stuck behind Paul Sparta in a part of the track you really can't go side by side. Sofronis covering off the inside, and he nudges into Blake McDonald. They're able to continue on, but that could have been disaster.
Yeah, and I think maybe Kyle got into the back of Paul Sparta there right at the apex of the hairpin as well. So Paul's getting roughed up here. He can't just hit the disappear button. You got to have a piece of the racetrack to work with. That was only 3.2 seconds, so they're keeping the pace on the leader. Rothberg can't afford to relax too much. Still 15 minutes plus to go in this race.
Exactly right. Porsche of Washington, Audi of Sofronis, Corvette of Blake McDonald, the series rookie, up against a couple of proven race winners. Washington's been the star of the show over the last couple of days. The move he made on the start yesterday was brilliant and bold, as it was again today, making that move from the second row to grab second place.
Yeah, well, he's certainly aggressive. He has a lot of confidence in the race car. He's getting a ton of seat time over the last 3 years or so. And he's able to make those moves stick. I mean, typically for someone with his experience, yeah, you can be bold enough to make the move, but then feeling it out at that critical point when you get right down to the apex on the dirty side of the racetrack, he's got great feel, and that's what you got to feel the grip that you're given at that point in the race, which is early. Tire pressures, tire temps aren't where they need to be. So you're pushing the edge a little bit, but he's dealing with it nicely.
Interesting dynamic of this battle. We talk about the fact that James Sofronis is both car owner and competitor in this particular matchup with Kyle Washington, but he's not running for a championship. Washington is. He came into this event second in points, only 2 points out. At what point does James think about the team and what's best for them, especially as he's, trying to play rear gunner a little bit to keep this Corvette behind?
Oh, I think you have to. I mean, I think if it's going for the win, different story. James would love to win here at Long Beach. He's done it 3 times before amongst the 28 wins I think Sofronis has had coming into this weekend. So he'd love to add to that tally. But when it's for second position against your teammate who's running full-time in the championship, I think he'd let Kyle have it.
Rothberg figures to be one of the championship rivals this year, and of course he looks like he could very well be en route to pick up a couple of wins here at Long Beach. So for Kyle Washington, it would be important to try and limit that damage as best as possible.
Oh, he's wide. Washington missed his braking point there. Was out in the gray. Sofronis trying to do something with this. Doesn't want to force the issue. His car tries to regroup. McDonald looks to the inside. Talk about having a wingman. That's exactly what Washington has right now in his team boss, James Sofronis.
Yeah, James doing a really good job to keep McDonald behind. Blake got a pretty good run, though, through the hairpin. It now sits in the slipstream. Here's the leader, Justin Rothberg, the Turner BMW, into turn number 1, but we wait 4 seconds and we find this fight for second, third, and fourth. Kyle Washington, James Sofronis, Blake McDonald, nose to tail into the fountain.
Yeah, that was a good half second that little trio lost there with that little bobble for Washington down in turn 9. So James is saying, come on, Kyle, keep it together. I'm sure he's talking to the team. Here we see the moment in turn 11. You see a little bump there from Washington into Paul Sparta. Paul saying, what did I do to deserve that? And McDonald and Sofronis very close to trading blows as well.
I think they did make side-to-side contact, and McDonald might have brushed the mirror up against the outside wall. It bent, but popped right back into place, at least more or less. Takes a look to the inside, but McDonald not close enough.
Sometimes drivers like to literally earn and show their stripes, and if you come in with both the side view mirrors with a little graze on them, that means to the mechanics of the team you've been pushing as much as you possibly can.
I've heard that there's an adage amongst touring car racers that the mirrors are there just to tell you, how wide the car is, and brush them up against the wall to make sure you're getting the most of out of the car.
The cat and the whiskers, right?
Yeah. Appears to be true even in a GT3 machine.
McDonald's car is quick. I think if he could get around this GMG pair, he could go chase down Rothberg, but he just can't figure out how to get around Safronis. Safronis so much experience. He's got his teammate in front he's trying to protect, and just positioning that Audi to not allow the Corvette through.
Blake driving with a lot of confidence. He was running Porsche Endurance Challenge last week out at Sonoma and managed to win overall as part of an AM pairing in that championship.
A little bit cooler here today than we had yesterday. Not so much sun bursting through the clouds right now, so track temp will be a lot different. Ambience only hovering around 60 degrees here this morning, so that will change the balance a little bit, and different rubbers going down. IndyCar had a warm-up this morning, the drift cars last night, so sometimes there's a bit of a guesstimate, a little bit of luck needed to have the ideal balance for the race car here on day 2.
That's where having some institutional knowledge like GMG does, as many years as they've come here, has to help. It helps you predict how the track is likely to evolve with the temperature swings, with the different rubber that goes down. Donald looking threatening, but ultimately that was Jeff Burton roughing up CJ Moses a little bit. Everyone's getting a bit impatient in the hairpin here on day 2.
Yeah, and tell you what I love, the top 8 cars are running lap times within half a second of each other for fast laps of the day, so there's a lot of pace in this field. You see Jeff just trying to roll through the apex there. You want to try not to kill the speed too much, and that'll give it better balance coming off the corner, and I think he just got caught out a little bit by CJ being maybe a mile an hour down compared to his minimum speed.
I swear it's a tough dynamic between the SRO3 cars, which are GT3 cars by another name.
Burton's
and Jeff's off the pace. Let's Roche West come through. Wow. Could that have been residual from the contact?
No, I wouldn't have thought that he'd got into the tire based on what we saw. I see something a little bit loose there on the right front body work, just in front of the headlight there.
Could it affect the cooling at all?
I don't think enough. It's kind of bizarre. He just car seems to be steering straight. I don't see any tire that's obviously down.
Yeah, very odd. And as I was saying, the GT2 cars are lightning fast in a straight line. So that makes it difficult when it comes to overtake them for...
Ooh, that was tight there.
Yep.
Donald really looked down to the inside, and Safronis resist the challenge.
This has allowed Kyle Washington to get ahead. Now has about a second in hand over this battle for the final step of the podium.
Yeah, Washington's car seems to have balanced itself out a little bit. Maybe car was just overdriving it a little bit and had to be settled down on the radio by the team to just say, calm down, don't overforce it, don't overdrive it, don't ask the car to do more than it will give you. And that's hard to do when you're being pressed from behind like he's been throughout the course of this race.
Judson Holt lets them come by to the inside. He's the leader in GT4, but that put him out in the marbles, and he had a moment on exit. The good news for him is he has 6 seconds in hand over Rico Schlemoon, so that won't cost him too much with just 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the second race of the weekend.
Yeah, we talk about you want to win here on the streets of Long Beach and follow those iconic names that you mentioned at the start of the show, Ryan, but standing on the podium is the next big marker in any race. You want to spray some champagne, and that's the battle that Safronis and McDonald are in right now. It's
a big step for McDonald. Yesterday, finished 7th, did have that fast lap, but didn't mix it up at the front. Now finds himself right here in amongst it with a chance to be on the podium at Long Beach, but he only has 7 minutes to work with, and the most experienced driver on the grid is the car he needs to pass.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy task. Safronis would love to have his cars win this race, but having 2 on the podium would be a pretty solid day for the whole group. missed the opportunity to stand on the top step yesterday with that drive shaft failure when he had a dominant lead similar to what Rothberg has right now. Cruel blow with, as you said, just a couple of minutes left in the 40-minute race yesterday. So this will ease that a little bit, but I'm sure he had his sights overnight about rebounding this morning and grabbing a win.
No question about it. That was the goal. But it will have to be put on the back burner for now. How about this? Safronis and McDonald have reeled Washington back in. Oh, McDonald got to the quarter panel of Safronis and maybe gave him a little bit of a nudge that time. Still just feeling out the opposition, looking for a weakness, looking for a way by.
That Corvette is so strong just in what I call carving the corners. Through the hairpin, he can just tuck that right front in and it'll just respond to his steering inputs, where other drivers having to wait on the race car a little bit. I really feel, I mean, he's already laid down fastest lap this race. I think if he had clean air and no one to think about in front of him, I think there's maybe another half second there.
DXDT has been fast all weekend, whether it's been here in GT America or in IMSA, where Robert Wickens made his return to top-level racing along with Tommy Milner, who drove this DXDT Corvette in GT World Challenge America last year. They had a really strong weekend, ultimately undone by some misfortune. It deprived them of a likely top 5 finish, if not better. But DXDT has figured this place out quickly.
They have, and what a role they went on last year when they debuted with the car for Alec Udell and Tommy Milner. Won 8 races on the bounce, almost pinched the championship, just came up a little bit shy at Indy. Oh, McDonald is really thinking that's an opportunity there. That's going to turn into heartbreak probably.
Yeah, if you're James, it seems dangerous to leave that much of an opening. Even if it costs you some lap time, you might want to cover that off.
Yeah, it just seems like the Corvette, just the steering ratio in the front end there, just getting through that hairpin is super effective. He can run a really tight radius through there and make that shallow entry and still make a respond on the exit.
Inside the final 5 minutes, Rothberg leads by 4 seconds over Kyle Washington in the Porsche that leads this trio. Then James Safronis and Blake McDonald, the pole sitter. We know, though, yesterday proved anything can happen in one of these races. Safronis had it in hand. He was basically touching the trophy when, with under 2 minutes to go, he broke a half shaft and tumbled down the order.
Yeah, he said the team were talking to him, saying, like, you only got the 3rd fastest lap in the race, so he kind of was relaxed a little bit and thought, okay, let me push. And he went into turn 6 and nearly lost the race car. And he said, listen, I don't want to throw away the race win for fastest lap here today. McDonald deep on the brakes, can't make it stick. So he was just thinking about getting it to the checkered flag at that point, then had the technical issue. But I really feel that Corvette behind him is a faster race car, but James' experience is keeping him at bay.
Jeff Burton has come to the pits with whatever was ailing that car. Jason Bell has also returned to the pits. Mirko Schultes out of the race. Broken suspension, as we speculated, has ended his day. Rothberg that last time by saw his lead shrink a little bit, but with only 3 minutes on the clock, it seems pretty safe, barring the kind of misfortune that struck James Safronis yesterday.
Yeah, and with that last lap, Rothberg actually laid down his personal best in Sector 3, so he's still got pace in that BMW. I'm sure he's just managing things. You know, got to that 2.5, 3.5 second lead early and has just paced it beautifully. But he knew the start was important. He knew the BMW had good top-end power, cleared the Corvette, and just took off and let everyone scrap for the remaining pieces on the podium.
I do think you're right. McDonald does appear to have the pace in that car, but getting by James Safronis, well, that's been proven over the years. That's not an easy thing to do. A 4-time champion in this series, 2 apiece in 2017 and 2018 within the SRO America paddock. Again, he keeps the door open. This time McDonald doesn't take the lunge to the inside. We'll see if it lets him get the power down a little better out of the hairpin. I don't think it did.
No, he's a little bit late there, a little bit scrappy coming off the corner. So, yeah, I mean, if you looked for that shallow entry, you're not maximizing. Yes, the Corvette can deal with it, but you're not maximizing your exit speed, and that gives you the terminal speed here by the time you hit the brake pedal for turn 1.
Traffic to deal with. Paul Sparta has second, third, and fourth in SRO 3, breathing down his neck in a single file part of the racetrack that bunches everybody back together. Spartak moves to the outside to let the leaders come through. Great sportsmanship from Paul, who is not having a great day today, but still able to think about the big picture.
This is the ultimate conundrum here for James Safronis. He'd love to push it, but anyone else in this race, he'd have been making some moves and trying to, you know, shake Carl Washington's car around so that he could get to the next step on the podium. But as his best buddy and his really good customer, he's got to be thinking about his championship chances as well. But it's tough to resist the urge. He's a racer at heart and he wants more.
Washington starts to edge away. Safronis sitting in the middle of the road, forcing McDonald to take a look around the outside, trying to set up this run. If there's been a spot where it's looked like he might make a lunge, it's coming up right here. McDonald to the inside, the two collide, and the Corvette is through. There's not enough steering radius for Safronis to get around the hairpin, and now he'll have to find reverse as the white flag waves on the streets of Long Beach. Race control will take a look at it, but for the moment, Blake McDonald is up into the podium contention.
I just had a feeling that he was going to try and make a move like this. He definitely gets into the side of Safronis, and for Safronis, kind of cut and paste where he had a problem yesterday with the minutes remaining in this race. So, disaster for him. He's got going again, fortunately, but he's lost that podium spot. But you're right. Certainly is a pretty bold and aggressive move by Blake. We'll let the stewards office make their decision on that one. But meanwhile, Rothberg up front. Gap is just under 3 seconds, and he's just managing this. You'd have to think, bringing it home here for another victory. This will be his 6th career victory in GT America. What a great start to the 25 season.
Safronis has dropped all the way down to 7th. Rothberg leads Washington. McDonald shown in 3rd. Elias Sabo, George Kurtz, the top 5. Ross Schwest up to 6th before you get to James Safronis, who has been able to continue on. But the man of the hour, indeed the man of the weekend in GT America, powered by AWS, Justin Rothberg, who came here a year ago and made his first ever street course start. Finished 4th in a pair of races. This year, he'll sweep the weekend. Justin Rothberg takes the checkered flag and wins race 2 at Long Beach. Kyle Washington across the line in 2nd. McDonald will see the checkered flag 3rd. We await Elias Sabo and George Kurtz. In the meantime, Adrian Kunzel in his MLT Motorsports Lamborghini coming around. He still has about a half a lap or so to go. And Judson Holt looks like he could make it 2 for 2. What a trip up to California for Judson, who did some sailboat racing just off the shore of Long Beach in the past. Picked up the win yesterday and is moments away from making it a sweep of the weekend.
Yeah, he's drove really well. It's easy to make a mistake on these street courses. He's been faultless and brings it home.
Here he comes, Fast Track Racing, the team. Lupe Tortilla, the sponsor. Judson Holt sees the checkered flag. He's a race winner for the 2nd time here at Long Beach. And Adrian Kunzel as well makes it a clean sweep for the race wins across all 3 classes on both days. Congratulations to all 3 race winners here at this historic venue.
Well, we'll wait and see what the decisions and how they evolve. Elias Sabo, I won't go too far away.
I think we've got our answer. Incident responsibility, drive-through penalty converted to a post-race time penalty for Blake McDonald.
And that moves Sabo up to the podium.
It certainly will.
Doesn't help out James Safronis, unfortunately.
No.
So Blake McDonald has been shuffled back to the paddock area, and I think Sabo's trying to get the message.
Sabo didn't realize he was on the podium.
Right.
So I think he went back to the paddock there. There it is on the screen for you. Once again, incident responsibility handed to Blake McDonald. I mean, if James had made the corner, I wonder if the call would have looked a little bit different, but because he was stuck there and it cost him so much time.
Yeah. I think you could sense that Blake thought that was the opportunity, and they'd got bottled up a little bit there, and he was definitely closer, and it was go time, right? There was minutes were running out, so if he's going to try and make a move, but you know, with James Safronis' feet, if he's not going to try and let you have a path through there, there's going to be contact, and the result is inevitable with one car in the wall.
Well, you said that it was shaping up to be disaster, and, you know, quite frankly, the door was always open just that little crack. It's so tempting, especially as time is running out and a spot on the podium is at stake.
It is. It's a really tricky corner. The Corvette just seemed to really be able to tuck in and make a tighter radius there, but there's nowhere for James to go. I mean, even if you want to try and give you a little bit of room, you're going to run into the wall by yourself with that. So, but Rothberger's pumped up. Another win adds to his tally and increases the championship lead heading to the next rounds.
How about the season he's already putting together? Came up 1 point shy of the title in GT America last year. Finished 5th in race 1, 2nd in race 2 at Sonoma, and now a sweep here at Long Beach. And it looks like he is taking a grip on the championship. Let's hear from him now with Amanda.
Well, Justin, I'll want to throw it over to you and say that Ryan Marine said that it was the man of the weekend here at Long Beach for Justin Rothberg. We go back a year ago, and where you were newly into our paddock. Where is Justin Rothberg now?
Totally different place. Last year I was learning the team, learning the series, learning the car, learning everything. Now I'm back and I know the track, I know the car. I'm with a team that I'm really comfortable with, and they have been giving me a car that works perfectly for me, so everything's perfect. Couldn't ask for a better weekend.
A sweep here for Justin Rothberg.
Big thumbs up. A-OK, I'd say so. 3 straight podiums. Justin Rothberg is in control of this championship now. Still a long way to go, but when you consider he got off to a relatively slow start last year and still almost won the title, this has to be a frightening proposition for the rest of the field.
It really is, and he didn't do a lot of off-season testing, didn't drive a race car between Indy Finale back in October last year and Sonoma race weekend just 2 weeks ago, so he's got back into his stride really, really quickly.
Here are the provisional results, and this does reflect that post-race penalty. As you can see, it cost Blake McDonald dearly, all the way down to 8th overall. Let's hear from the rest of the class winners now here on the historic streets of Long Beach with Amanda.
Well, it was another sweep this weekend in GT4, and that was for Judson Holt. And, man, I think you're just taking in this moment, big smile on your face. But we've talked about how you race sailboats just right out here, and now you've won on asphalt back-to-back. But, man, it was busy out there. What led to this victory for you?
Yeah, just being patient, and waiting for an opportunity to make a pass. And the opportunity came, and there it was. So, yeah, it was just right there in the right moment.
Congratulations to Judson Holt. His team was over here lifting him up on their shoulders in celebration, and it was another sweep in GT2 as well for Adrian Kunzo, who wanted to come over to SRO America and see what we were all about. We talked about mixed class racing with you yesterday, but I just want to talk about taking GT2 machinery around these 11 turns at Long Beach.
Yeah, it's surprisingly punishing. I definitely felt yesterday's race today. But it's such a blast. It's like you get comfortable a little bit with the walls, but it's great. It's so much fun.
Welcome to SRO.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. Congratulations to them. Hope to see more of those GT2 cars as the season progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. They always put on a great show. They're spectacular race cars. They don't have the downforce, the braking ability of the SRO3 cars, but it's great to see them out there, and we're hoping to see more entries this year. But we go from Long Beach, these street circuit, tight confines, to Circuit the Americas, a Formula One layout. Lots of space there. Action should get spicy as well there.
And it will be the full complement of the SRO America paddock as well. The weekend of Friday the 25th, Saturday the 26th, and Sunday the 27th of April. If you can't join us there, hope you join us for our live streaming coverage. For the entire team, thanks for joining us here at Long Beach. For Amanda and Cal, I'm Ryan. We'll see you in Austin, Texas.